Thanks for tuning in to this Stardom live stream discussion, a review of Stardom The Conversion 2025. On June 21st, a warrior with the power of a blazing sun crashed the gates of Stardom and declared war in an easy match of the year contender. Moreover, the crazy life of Stardom viewers everywhere became even crazier when a giant-sized interloper showed us that shock value does matter. The conversion is complete. The winds of change are sweeping through Stardom. So hold on for dear life. Welcome everyone to the stream. My guest for today is Meerkat Ultra. Meerkat, how's your day going so far? You're muted at the moment, my friend. Always an important detail.
That's exactly how my day has been, basically. Basically that. No, I just got off of work, so it's just been a whirlwind, and I'm just kind of just running around everywhere.
I totally get it. I feel very discombobulated myself because this show surprised me on a couple of different occasions. And I honestly think that if someone were to say, oh yeah, nothing about this show was unexpected, I saw everything coming from a mile away, they have to be lying, I think. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that. It definitely surprised me a bit too.
Yeah, so we're going to be talking about as much as we can. There really is a ton of different things for us to cover. If you're not familiar with these types of streams, I tend to prefer starting at the very top of the card and working our way down. My goal is to get all of the title matches covered and a couple of the non-title matches that were also pretty pivotal for storytelling and character reasons. And I'd want to intermittently check in with the viewers, whoever might be out there, and we'll do some true or false. We'll ask you all some questions and see what you're thinking about what has just happened, because I'm still wrapping my head around a lot of this. So I think we should just jump in. What do you think, Meerkat?
That sounds great to me.
All right. Well, the first thing we got to do is let's go ahead and play Global Thermonuclear War, the main event of Stardom The Conversion 2025 for the IWGP Women's Championship. Syuri of God's Eye versus Sareee, the freelancer, the warrior wielding the power of the sun. This is a follow-up battle to their clash that went to a 30-minute time limit draw at Sareeeism in March of this year. And personally, this is just me speaking from my own opinion, I have to say I definitely enjoyed this match even more so than their first match. This was an epic ballistic war that went over 30 minutes. As you talked about when we previewed this, they had a 60-minute time limit to work with. So it was only natural that this fight was going to go even further. And when we talked about this in our conversion preview, when you see that this is the main event of the conversion, when you see that this is a 60-minute time limit war, you already know what time it is. You already know what you're going to be getting. And one thing that I thought elevated this match to a level that just really took it over the top was that with this iteration of their fight, we had that higher production value. We had the dynamic camera shots. We had the chance to see the emoting of both of the wrestlers. They both are really, really talented when it comes to playing to the camera incredibly well. When you see Syuri caught in these submission holds, and when you see Sareee showing the exhaustion, sometimes showing just glimpses of self-doubt, and ultimately showing the perseverance that she needed in order to overcome this monumental challenge. Now, before I get too carried away with just talking about details of the match and things that I really noticed and appreciated, because there's just a really long list that we could go through, why don't you let me know just some of your initial impressions when this match got going? Did you feel that they were about to do something just utterly gigantic.
Actually, yeah, I agree with you. I liked it better than their previous time limit draw in Syuriism. Um, for me, the moment it really kicked in, you talked about it a little bit too, and I can talk about the details as well because that's my favorite part really as well. But all the submission spots, both of them just really pulled it off. It was really really great. Like Syuri at one point like reached for the ropes, and her hand was dangling on there, and then it just slightly slips off, and I was just like, oh. I'm gonna use that forever. Basically, that's when it comes to talking about these spots. Anybody who watches my channel knows I love submission spots, even though it's really obvious they're gonna reach for it. It's really, really important in building the drama and really, really just like it's just like a good action scene would, just like a good hero reaching for the knife to stab the villain before one last time. It's just I really love those spots, and they really pulled it off. Even Sareee as well was stuck in the sleeper as well, and it just had just amazing faces. It was just so good. It was so good on both of their ends, and then they just started just getting really, really stubborn about it. And like my favorite genre of wrestling in general is just stubborn Joshi wrestling. Them just being the crap out of each other, and that's just can't get any better than that. And these two are the best, like some of the best in the world as well. And Syuri is like my number two. So oh yeah, it was fantastic. I can talk about it forever. I think this is so much to do. I need to
Yeah,
watch it again, actually.
oh, of course. Yeah,
Yeah,
there's so much to appreciate. I'll just throw a few things out there while we're
yeah.
talking about this battle, which I thought Sareee did a great job of easily getting heat with the crowd fairly early on in the match. Just simple things like grabbing Shuri by the hair, placing boots to Shuri's neck while she was on the ropes. It just got the crowd very, very animated, which was even more impressive and powerful because ultimately, over the course of the fight, Saori became more of a sympathetic character. She was struggling and she was against the ropes, literally and figuratively, to the point that I couldn't help but get the sense that she was going to win this match as it rolled on, with Shuri piling on the offense and the way Saori was really playing in to the struggle here. They had a spot here that usually I think some people might consider almost like a cliche, but the near double countout spot that was almost like an intermission in this fight, I thought that was really cool because it gave the audience a moment to breathe, and it gave you the sense almost of gladiatorial combat where both of these wrestlers had to will themselves back into the arena, back into combat, and try to find another gear to take this to. And they absolutely did that. When you think of someone like Shuri, who has gone a long, long way without being at the top of the mountain, this match really had to sell us on the idea that it was going to take the power equivalent of destroying an entire solar system to take her out. And that's really what it felt like, because she kicked out of a hell of a lot in this match.
Mhm.
And there were several near falls, and the match required just the utmost last extent of what Sareee could do to actually pull off what she has done. And that is dethroning Shuri after only one successful title defense and becoming the new IWGP Women's Champion. We talked a little bit about the fact that we were leaning slightly Shuri, but we weren't at all counting out the possibility that Sareee could become the champion on this night. And I remember you saying you thought that would be a rather, not a bold decision, but like a rather impressive and a very cool decision. So having seen it happen in reality, what are you feeling in the sort of aftermath of this match? Are you kind of like on a cloud nine type of thing? Or have you thought about it a little more? Do you have questions about what they did?
Oh no, I love it. I think it's great. I mean, it's one of those sad that we couldn't get more Shuri defenses and more of that, because she definitely deserves it. But I'm not going to complain about Sareee having it, because she's just fantastic. She's a god basically, and her entire like demeanor and attitude towards Stardom is just perfect, just to deliver stories basically. Yeah, look at that, look at that face right there. Exactly. She's just like full on anime boss basically, anime leader. Yeah, she's a just looking down upon the entirety of the roster, and her having the title is just perfect. and she's great for it too as well. So yeah, I'm pretty happy for it, and she can just face anybody honestly, because she's just really good. So yeah, so she can just face anybody, and I'm excited.
Well, let's follow up on that a little bit, and we will talk more in depth about Shuri. Absolutely, there's a lot of things to talk about in terms of what's going on with the God's Eye faction. But for Sareee, she of course last year faced Mayu Iwatani for this belt unsuccessfully at All Star Grand Queendom 2024. There were some build up and precursors to this match with, as I mentioned, the 30-minute time limit draw against Shuri. She also, as depicted here, faced Rana Yagami. So there is a palpable sense of Sareee antagonizing the wrestlers in Stardom. I do have some questions, however, about what's next for her. Now, do you picture her having a more pronounced role facing off against Stardom wrestlers from here, or do you think there might be other avenues for her to pursue first and foremost? Are you starting to envision where they might start booking her, or is that putting the cart before the horse at this stage?
Yeah, a little too early to tell, I would say. But when you look at how they booked Mayu before with the IWGP, it was usually major shows, I would say. Like it's mostly major shows and big events. So I imagine they would probably have her do that. I don't know if she would interact with the Stardom roster more because she is a freelancer and she's literally everywhere in Joshi. I personally I think it would just be more exciting if she just shows up in Sendai Girls Wednesday one day and defends the IWGP Women's Championship against somebody there. That's just cool. She goes to Marvelous and just defends it there. That's cool as well too. I think that's a little bit more, it's a little bit more exciting, I guess, to the more um hardcore Joshi fan who watches a lot more shows and a lot more variety. I think that's kind of cool though, to have a traveling champion go to different promotions again. Yeah.
Going back to our preview, we noticed that aside from Mayu Iwatani's reign, the standard operating procedure for these IWGP reigns is that they have been on the shorter side of things. I have a question in the back of my mind about the direction that this belt has taken. There's a part of me that wonders that once the long-term epic reign that Mayu Iwatani just masterfully brought to us, once that came to a conclusion, I'm starting to wonder if there is a direction in mind, if they in some ways are offloading this belt and freeing up some of the space and some of the booking and mental energy for Stardom to have this occupy, as you said, other promotions, possibly a whole other realm of contenders. I didn't quite get a chance to listen for translations, but I do think I heard the word America coming up a few times at the end of this match from the commentary booth. So perhaps Sareee is going to do some international adventuring and battling, taking on whoever will step up to the plate. But there's not a lot for us to immediately go off of in terms of where the IWGP belt will be seen next. Now, as we get that sort of, taken care of, I want to get into our very first true or false for the viewers here. Seems like we got some discussion going, so thank you everyone for checking this out, and we're gonna see what you all think. I want to focus this next part of our discussion on Shuri. She had a very long journey getting to this belt. She has not been a singles champion in quite some time. She was the person to dethrone Mayu Iwatani in April. And after only one successful title defense and an amazing match here, this was a worthy match to defend the IWGP belts, even in a loss. There are some questions about what is next for her. So we've got our first true or false. Here we go. True or false for the viewers? Let me know what you think. Shuri will challenge for the red belt in 2025. We have seen little glimmers, little moments here or there of tension or potential conflict between Shuri and Saya Kamitani. We obviously have the 5-star GP coming up, in which it's possible for just about anyone to cross paths. So we'll take a second to let anything come in. We are seeing false. We are seeing some others who don't see her winning the red belt. But the chance of challenging, seems like a couple of you do agree that that could be on the table. That could be next for Syuri. So just something to be thinking about, something to keep in the back of our mind. But this was really a match, as you said, where there's so much to appreciate. It does warrant revisiting. Obviously, as would be expected, a very physical, very brutal match. You can kind of picture in your mind what Syuri versus Sareee would entail. It had all of that and more. So for me personally, it's not the type of match I'd watch every single night or anything like that, but definitely something to go back and just because you don't see wrestlers necessarily go to these extremes all the time. And when they do, and they can maintain that dramatic component, the emotional component, when they can still perform the theatricality as well as the technique, as well as the extremism, that's putting a lot of things together at a very, very high level. So as we start to wind down the talk about this match, are there any other things you wanted to bring up or bring to people's attention?
No, not at the moment. No, I think we covered it pretty well. I mean, just let's see. No, not really. I wrote a bunch of spots down that I like. That's just from notes for future sake. But
All right, sounds like you might be developing future projects that will involve covering this match further.
maybe because it is IWGP, so I have to put a little chocobo, a little work and censor a lot of things, and put a little filter on it because it belongs to a company that I can't talk about. So,
all right. Well, good luck to you. So we are obviously here talking about Stardom, the conversion. And as the name indicates, there were some drastic changes, some startling, shocking moments. And I think nothing was more shocking for the viewers of Stardom than the fact that Neo Genesis has matching outfits. This is
oh my god,
absolutely crazy.
it's very crucial too. And look at that hair as well from on Hamasaki.
So this was the first minor surprise of this match, but of course not the bulk of what would unfold. But we do need to talk about the match itself. Neo Genesis versus Mi Vida Loca. Mi Vida Loca being the newer faction formed under the command of Suzu Suzuki, who initially betrayed Neo Genesis. And so much happened here. There was just so much that happened. Let's try to work our way through it. Firstly, I have to say, as a viewer going into this match, I was already wondering, why did they book this as the second to last battle on this card? Why did they book this as a no DQ match? And why is it happening at all, notably so soon after the Artist of Stardom challenge that Mi Vida Loca attempted? And also, relatively soon after the Suzu Suzuki versus Mei Seira no DQ match. Something seemed off. And throughout the whole match, honestly, I thought something seemed just a little bit off. So it wasn't until the bitter end, of course, that so many things ended up coming into focus. Now, the all matching gear we talked about, they've got a lot of things going on with that gear. I almost think there's sort of this tiger stripe theme going on, perhaps some kind of cowgirl theme or like a futuristic theme mixed in. There's silver, there's multiple colors, but it's cool to see a unified, visually cohesive faction that is going to not only combine their stylistic wrestling, but now a visual aesthetic as well. I kind of thought that what we initially saw as the no DQ element spawned from the fact that Suzu Suzuki had previously used a chair against Mei Seira to betray Neo Genesis, and chair spots just kept popping up in this match. So they just kept piling chairs on top of each other and hitting people with chairs. and suplexing people onto chairs. And other than that, though, for me watching this, I was thinking that there wasn't really much of a need for the no DQ rule to exist. And again, we will talk about why it actually did exist. But I want to spotlight one of the wrestlers in particular before we do that, which is Akira Kurogane. And Akira Kurogane is one of the newest rookies in Stardom. And this was pretty big for her to be involved in this match because I thought of it as nearly a breakout performance for her. She was able to trade these very fast-paced, blistering sequences and dynamic spots with some of the wrestlers in Neo Genesis. I think she was kind of keeping up. I think it might have been Azumi and or Mei Sarah. And Akira was holding her own, especially considering the fact that she has not been wrestling in Stardom for very long. So here I am sitting here watching this. Akira is getting a lot of spots and starting to think that, okay, Akira is the candidate of all candidates to be losing this match. But then the real big shocking reveal takes place. And that is, of course, the fact that Stardom, the conversion, has been named the conversion because Stardom is converting itself into Marigold. And Bozilla makes a stunning appearance. Firstly, showing up in a sweatshirt with the hood up, sunglasses on, starts destroying everyone, and sitting there as a viewer. I'm trying to piece the puzzles together. I know it's obviously a large person. The truth is not yet setting in. You know, it's an important reveal as well because she really played up the unzipping of the sweatshirt, the removal of the hat, removal of the sunglasses. And Bozilla, formerly of Dreamstar fighting Marigold, whom I think you and I actually both learned about simultaneously when we covered our preview of Marigold Fields Forever, the very first Marigold show that Bozilla headlined as a main eventing competitor. And she is here. There was an absolute devastation and obliteration of Starlight Kid, who got
murdered,
comboed by multiple finishers. Bozilla's last ride powerbomb, Suzu's German suplex, and Mi Vida Loca wins, announcing Bozilla as their newest member. And if that weren't enough, she has also stated when grabbing the microphone that the quote-unquote baby Azumi is her first target. Bozilla wants to take a crack at Azumi's New Japan Women's Strong title. So she's now joining a list of people who have named that belt as their target. Something tells me she's probably going to be skipping the queue, but that remains to be seen. So, Meerkat Ultra, what did you make of this twist, this shocking reveal, this shocking, horrifying revelation? And where does that leave us? Are you excited? Are you curious, puzzled, confused?
No, Bozilla's great. Yeah, she's like fantastic. She's like completely been killing it, surprisingly, because you're right. We learned about her like when we previewed it. I didn't know anything about her. I knew she had just a bundle of matches basically, and she's kind of just picked up that monster thing really, really well. And you need a monster, especially like in Stardom and stuff. Like, you need someone that's just to toss them around, like Starlight Kid. She just like completely just sent Starlight Kid into the Shadow Realm basically and just destroyed her. Yes, and she's great for that, and that's great. So yeah, I'm excited for that. It did surprise me though, because the last time I remember about Bozilla is that she had I think she had a visa issues, which is why she left. I can't remember, but I wasn't expecting her back in Japan like so quickly, basically. So yeah, it's interesting. I wasn't expecting it, but I welcome it. Mi Vida Loca just became a little bit overpowered, but a little OP right now. But hey, you know.
Yeah, we need a new patch to be released pretty soon so that we can get the balance.
You got Rina Yamashita in there as well. So yeah, and Bozilla, that's enough.
They already had the advantage in a no DQ match, you would think. So yeah, they had to just go so extra with it. Now, Bozilla, just to throw a little more context, yeah, she did fight her last fight in Marigold earlier this April. She actually made an appearance in Las Vegas in a one-on-one against Megan Bayne, a pretty impressive match. Other than that, been relatively quiet, but we of course know that her stature, her bravado, her physicality is going to place her as a really oppressive force right away. It's kind of funny that she's targeting Azumi, one of the smaller wrestlers that exists, as her first victim. So maybe trying to make an example out of her. I'm not entirely clear about her long-term goals.
I poor Azumi, basically just run as much as you can for that one. Like
just try and tire her out or something. Okay, well, let's get into our next true or false question, because this to me was the biggest shock of the night, and I can't help but start to wonder about what this shock will lead to in Stardom's near future, and maybe what some of you all viewing this would like to see happen. So here's our true or false pertaining to Bozilla. True or false? Bozilla will compete in this year's 5-star Grand Prix tournament. It's really a question of the time frame of her involvement with Stardom. My initial instinct was thinking maybe she'll be involved throughout the remainder of this year, 2025, get in the mix of a couple different scenarios, couple different angles. But let's see what you all think. All right, we've got a couple of trues. Bozilla in the 5-star sounds like a rather tall order, and that is pun intended, absolutely. Whatever block she's in, she's immediately going to be a major threat. And a lot of these matches are going to vary from possibly being outright squash matches in this scenario to really a test to see who can outsmart her, who can outfox her, who can use tactics and strategy to, overcome the physicality discrepancy. So what do you think about that, Meerkat? Do you think that would be a good call on Stardom's end, or do you think they should relegate her to other areas of the company and their booking?
Yeah, it would be a shame if they didn't do it. It's like when they had Megasis there, and they just kind of just had her be the villain of the week, basically, until she won tag team championships later, though. But she wasn't involved in the 5-star, I remember. And but Bozilla would be great in the 5-star. I think it'd be just a fun little presence in there, and just have I'll be excited for that. She would absolutely decimate a lot of them, and probably make a lot, and probably like destroy like. Actually, I want to see Starlight Kid now try to get her revenge now. Now I'm trying to think about that match. That would be a really fun match.
Yeah, the one thing Starlight Kid does have on her side is she's got a variety of different leg attacks and ways to attack the limbs, and that tends to be a go-to strategy against the much larger opponents. So she would at least have that as a starting point.
Yeah, it would be a great visual, though.
Yeah, I'm curious. What do you think would be the absolute biggest mismatch? Is it even? There's probably a few that would be quite a mismatch at this stage.
To face Bozilla?
Yeah.
Mismatch. It's a lot because she's really big. I do want to see her. We can always get Lady C to go try to go face Bozilla.
That's one thing I'm wondering about is, will Bozilla immediately try to tangle with all the other Titans? Like, will she go straight after Hanako, straight after Lady C? That would really make a statement, I think.
She's kind of more of a bully. I feel like she's going after Azumi for a reason, just to pick
right.
Yeah, pick on the smaller ones.
So you mentioned this faction being a bit overpowered, maybe in need of some balancing. Aside from that, what do you make of this faction? It's a lot of outsiders. It's predominantly outsiders at this stage. One rookie, and Suzuki kind of as the mastermind putting this all together. Is this an intriguing group for you? Is this kind of a random group for you?
I mean, it's kind of random, but it's also very intriguing as well, and I don't mind it. Just stuff they've been kind of just. Yeah, it feels very random, but yeah, I like it. I do like it. It's provide something interesting for Suzu to do and lead and get like more into the title picture and get back to where she was. And you kind of have to lead a unit for that. But I'm also interested in watching Akida's career grow as well, though, because like someone told me that she was also an artist as well, which surprised me. And I always just like seeing my artist types in wrestling perform really, really well, like my Sayaka Carrara. And I just like seeing them grow. And she's got like a really fun faces in the ring when she gets really passionate and really into it. So yeah, I think it's fun. It'll be really fun for her as well because she's kind of got these like big old monster, and she's got like a violent, ultra violent Rina monster. These two ultra violent people actually. It's actually kind of an interesting dynamic for her to be in.
Yeah, and I think she's met every new challenge in her career fairly well because she was one of the first in her class, so to speak, to actually step forward, get some wins, really present herself as a character. First one to join a faction as well. So she's generating a lead on the other rookies, and she's handling herself quite admirably, I would say.
Someone in chat. Yeah, Iida versus Bozilla. There's your mismatch.
Oh my goodness, that's a great idea.
I love it. Yeah,
that would be fantastic. All right, good thinking. Okay, any other thoughts on Neo Genesis, Mi Vida Loca, Bozilla?
Natsupoi.
Oh my gosh.
Natsupoi, yeah.
Bozilla nice. Versus Natsupoi. All right. Maybe the 5-star with Bozilla in the mix could be something to really watch. That would okay. Now I'm starting to wonder about some of these. Speaking of Natsupoi, she's actually up next on our discussion. So why don't we allow that to be our segue? Thanks for that in the comments. Because Natsupoi and Saori Anou took on the babyface Goddess of Stardom team that has held these belts for the entirety of 2025. Gori, Saya Iida, and Hanan, 2 of the 3 remaining members of Stars. And this match already had some built-in hype and anticipation thanks to the 10-year anniversary show of Natsupoi and Saori Anou, which seemed to have been quite a successful venture on their part and position them as very, very dangerous challengers here. This was one of the times that I noticed in this particular venue that the lights and the production setup was really amazing. And I couldn't find any photos that truly did it justice, but you had lights that were moving this way and that in these crisscrossing patterns and colors. And it added a hell of a lot to some of these entrances and to the stature that a lot of these teams and these individual wrestlers brought to the ring. I liked how Natsupoi and Saori Anou showed their experience advantage early on in this match, using the 2-on-1 sort of outnumbering tactics early and often. And you mentioned as we previewed this, the fact that Natsupoi doesn't get as much credit as she truly deserves. And this match was a clear indication of that. She has not only fast, very clean technique, really trained physicality, but most importantly, perhaps, she's able to strongly emote and display the sense of drama simply because she is in the match. It adds this caliber and this quality of drama. She's able to convey things like dismay and disbelief and desperation and definitely shock, almost better than anybody that Stardom has. And I like how this match was designed or how it played out because it really made Natsupoi and Saori Anou feel like the toughest challenge possible to win Gori. It required Saya Iida to jump in and save Hanan multiple times. The crowd themselves was really into this match as well because they were a bit split on this one. There was a unique Natsupoi chat that came in. I forgot what it was, but it was Natsupoi, and then they had some claps in the middle, and then they said Natsupoi again. And then later on in the match, Hanan was the one receiving chants from the crowd. So this was a pretty exciting tag team battle, as we would expect, with Hanan just with perfect timing, able to win with the 17 roll up against Natsupoi, and Saori Anou was pinned down for just that extra second to the point that she couldn't make the save. And not only do Wing Gori successfully defend against arguably their toughest challenge yet, but they also met a brand new challenge right after winning this match. And it appears that Hanan and Iida will be facing, I believe the team is called Tropica Wild, Yuna Mizumori, and Saki in 4 days' time. They are getting absolutely no opportunity to rest. And this was one of the other surprises of the show, is that we've already got our next match booked. Now, without really jumping the gun and talking about that match, how did you feel about the result of this and the fact that Wing Gori now are going to most likely be heading into the second half of the year as one of the longest reigning champions we currently have in the company?
You know, that's kind of exciting actually, for Wing Gori. I'm pretty happy for them. I wasn't actually expecting that result, so that's actually great. Now they're gonna have a really like long legacy low run with with those titles, and really make something out of it, and make something really memorable. So that's really cool. And going over Natsu and Sourei is yeah, that's great. And yeah, and then the next match that they're doing in 4 days time, it's almost like they're just like running them through the gauntlet and having them just come out on top of it and prove themselves a little bit, which they do every now and then. And Tropical Wild, Yuna Mizumori is a great talent, getting really better, and she's a Choco Pro graduate, so I of course love her. And Saki as well, so it's just completely Choco Pro, got the move coded there. But that's gonna be a great little match too. It'll be a really hard working little match for Wing Gori to win. So yeah, it's pretty exciting for them. I hope they keep it for a good while. It's just, why not? You know, I'm always I'm always used to these titles just kind of just switching hands almost randomly at times. So it's just like, yeah, you know, go for it. Have your little run and have fun with it. I'm glad to see it.
And that's a really good place for us to dovetail into our next true or false questions. Let me find that, because it does pertain to the longevity of the title reign of Wing Gori. So, true or false, Wing Gori will enter 2026, so the beginning of next year, as Goddess of Stardom champions. That means they will have an entire year-long run. They've really made it through some of the tougher teams that we know of. A lot of the babyface teams have been brushed aside by Wing Gori. They've taken out pretty much the remainder of the Stars faction before multiple Stars members left the faction. And now they've taken out Natsupoi and Saori Anou. I was actually a little bit surprised that BMI 2000 did not challenge based on the results of their match and how absolutely nasty they came out looking. So let's see what people have to say about this. All right, we have a strongly worded yes. And it's been a while since a Goddess of Stardom tag team has really had a long-term reign. Throughout all of 2024, the reigns were not really exceeding 1 or 2 defenses. So this would be quite an outlier. This would be a really eye-opening, like head-turning thing. So we've got a couple comments here. They need to surpass the Thunder Rock reign. So that would just put them into the stratosphere of like the pantheon of tag teams. But others are saying false here. Oh, this is interesting. False. I see them dropping the Goddess titles to Devil Princess by the end of the year. And that would mimic what happened in the New Blood tag scene when Rina was able to pin Hanan, her older sister, and become a double champion at the time, with Rina being not only the future of Stardom champ during 2024, but also the New Blood tag champion. Interesting. Majority are saying false with this one.
I do like that though. That would be fun, just because I always love that interaction. So yeah, that'd be great to see. The good one.
Yeah, there's still a lot of runway for many, many stories to unfold between Hanan and her two younger sisters. And with all of them starting to move around and play in different divisions or different titles pictures, it can just continue to grow over time. So I'm totally in agreement with you. All right. Well, that was a serious title match, but it wasn't the only tag match happening, and it wasn't the only really serious match going on. So the next thing we're going to get into is a match that normally would be considered a triumphant return, but didn't end up all that triumphant for the main participant or the main sort of focal point. And before we even get into this, we also have to mention that this match actually had a bit of a change. Unfortunately, Saki Kashima was not able to make it to this show. I believe it was listed as poor health, so perhaps some kind of illness or hopefully minor ailment or injury. And she was replaced by Kiyoka Kotatsu in the return match of Ami Sourei of the God's Eye faction, facing four of the most threatening and most dangerous members of the H.A.T.E faction: harass, abuse, terrorize, eradicate. We had another new gear alert here with Ami Sourei returning to the ring for the first time in nearly 1 year's time and decked out to the nines, ready for combat. I thought her entrance and her gear was definitely on point. And I felt like for the bulk of this match, the goal here was to build sympathy and support for Ami. And I just mentioned briefly the mauling that took place ahead of time at the hands of BMI 2000, the FWC versus BMI 2000 match. That was that got really ugly, and it set the stage for a follow-up from H.A.T.E. And this was a fitting follow-up at the end of the day. I thought there was a fairly strong story beat initially that involved Ami Sourei's lack of coordination with their teammates. This is her first match back after so long. So for them to think about what could occur in this match, firstly, a lot of the members of H.A.T.E were going right for her legs, which were, of course, injured previously. And then for her to have these slip-ups, to accidentally strike her friends and to be struck accidentally by her friends. I thought those mishaps, there were about 3 of them, I thought those were well placed. However, that part of the angle or that part of the story of the match got a little bit undercut when H.A.T.E suddenly tempted Ami and proposed, I guess, to her that she take the chair that Konami where is this graphic? Well, the chair that Konami very, very sort of deliberately brought to the match and wanted to recruit Ami as the next person to betray their own faction. I mean, this is the conversion after all, so why not tease a betrayal angle? Ami Sourei held the chair in her grasp, even though I don't have the graphic for it. And she was very conflicted for about a quarter of a second before she tossed that chair away and laid into her true enemies. But that didn't really matter because the tactics of H.A.T.E were just far too despicable, and a combination of blinding spray paint, an actual accurate strike from Momo Watanabe's bat, and a strike from Rina's whip or cat o' nine tails, whatever we want to classify that as, followed up by the Star Crusher from Saya Kamitani, really put a damper on this would-be welcoming return for Ami Sourei. This dovetailed into a promo between Ami and Saya Kamitani, which we're actually going to talk about in a little more in depth in just a second. But before we do, we talked about this in the preview that there was a chance this match was just going to be a way to get Ami a nice win, a nice a welcome back opportunity, and they definitely didn't go that route. They put Ami down and mocked her and humiliated her afterwards. How do you feel about them doing that and immediately lighting the fuse on what could be a pretty bitter feud involving the returning Ami Sourei?
Yeah, you got to make her work up and have something to fight for, So I think sometimes I see something like this and like we just assume it's gonna be like Ame return home win, stuff like that. I keep remembering that like we grew up on like WWE and WCW and all this like Western wrestling, which is how that they would book that basically, and that's just not how Japanese wrestling works anyway. So that's just another reminder of that they have a different approach towards things. So it kind of just seems like they're giving her something that she needs to fight for and rise against. um, but of course, hate just would do everything they can to trample it and keep that unit strong as well, which is another big thing that Stardom's been doing. Is that they want to keep hate really, really, really strong. It's the strongest they've ever been in a long time. So, and for obvious reasons. So, yeah, pretty interesting.
Yeah, and that's a lot of food for thought in the positioning of hate. There's actually a question in the comments about specifically about Saya and Momo that I'm hoping to get to when we get to Q&A. So I'm going to try and make a mental note that we get back to that. But I still want to talk about Ami Sourei because there are other people talking about Ami Sourei. I found an article that gets a little bit more of a clue of where this is all going and what they want to do with this. So we're going to tell you all about that. You can actually find it in the description below as well. And it does involve, at the very least, Saya Kamitani. So Tokyo Sports came out with an article very, very recently recapping a little bit of this match and the promo that took place and setting the table in some way for what Ami Sourei might be up to next. Now, first of all, for those of you who might not have been watching Stardom when Ami was wrestling, this article gives a little bit more context as to why she's been away. So I'm just going to read some of that first. So here is some translated and paraphrased information coming from the Tokyo Sports article. Firstly, about Ami Sourei's return and her injury. So here we go. Women's pro wrestler Ami Sourei, 28, of Stardom, made her long-awaited return to the ring after about 1 year away. Back in July of last year, she injured her meniscus during training, following surgery on both her previously damaged left ACL and her meniscus, which she was sidelined for an extended period due to. So, to summarize that for you guys, Ami Sourei had two injuries, one which had been aggravated for a long time that she continued wrestling through. That was an ACL injury. And then once she had a compounding factor of the secondary injury, she was just forced to stop competing for some long period of time, nearly 1 year's time. Now, fast forward to the conversion, Ami returns. We just talked about what happened in the match. Now the Tokyo Sports article is going to explain the back and forth, the promo afterwards between Saya Kamitani and Ami Sourei. So we'll get back to what the article had to say. After the match, Kamitani grabbed the mic and sneered. And she said the following: "Hey, Ami Sourei, this defeat is our welcome back gift from H.A.T.E. Stardom has changed while you were gone. Your little God's Eye crew, go ahead and keep drowning at the bottom forever." And then Ami Sourei responded to this. And she said a number of things. But most notably, she said, "I will destroy every last one of you." She closed in on Kamitani, glaring, and declared, "I'll take your place at the top too." And then she left the ring seething. And this is the last note in this Tokyo Sports article. Little bit heavy-handed. The crowd is now eagerly anticipating Sourei's revenge arc. They are literally calling this a revenge storyline involving Ami Sourei. This seems to be almost like the default God's Eye story pack that comes with the wrestlers, is that someone in hate does something terrible to them. Usually it's Konami that has a hand in it, and they swear revenge. So we've seen Syuri do this. Kiyoka Kotatsu kind of sort of has done this as well. Saki Kashima kind of sort of has done this as well. And now Ami Sourei is getting involved. There are a few ways this could go, as she is directly calling out Saya Kamitani and claiming that she's going to replace Kamitani at the top. I have to only assume that is going to manifest itself as a red belt title match. But let's go ahead and ask you all what you think about what's going on. So this is going to be a little bit more general. Before I get into that, actually, Meerkat, did you have anything to add now that we've talked about the quote-unquote revenge arc of Ami Sourei? Does that sound enticing? Does that sound like it could have some real meat on the bone? Did they have some play there that might be worthwhile?
I think maybe when it comes to Ami Sourei, maybe I just been sleeping on her work so much, but she's very underrated in regards to like me watching, like analyzing her like deeply. So I'm more than welcome for her to surprise me and stuff like that. I don't really have like a informed opinion of her work, because I just, there's a lot of it I haven't seen, other than her killer finisher that she has, because she basically does have a finisher that if she hits it, they're dead, and she won the match. It's one of those GGs that you won because they literally land on their head. So that's one of those like. So I do like her finisher though. I remember that. I forgot what she called. I think it's like a thunderbolt or something like that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, so
that sounds about right.
Yeah, so that's kind of interesting. But you know what? I like seeing wrestlers grow. That's one of my favorite parts about watching wrestling in general. This is why I watch a lot of Joshi wrestling. It's because they feature a lot of rookies having a lot of screen time, having a lot of wrestling time, and you get to see them grow and get bigger and stronger and better. And that's really the most exciting part about wrestling, just in general, is really watching that stuff. So, you know, I'm welcome to see how she performs and see how she performs in these bigger matches if that's what she wants to do. But if she's gonna do it, just do it. Go all out. Go and attack Momo Watanabe from behind with a baseball bat. Just do it. Hunt them. Be a hate hunter. Why not?
That sounds interesting. I kind of like that approach. We'll see if they consider doing something like that. But for the time being, right now, God's Eye's really down. Hina did all right for herself, but the rest of the faction did not have a swell night. And with Vida Loca also stepping up and increasing their threat level, increasing their power level, as you said, they've been abusing some bugs in the system to do so. We got some questions to be asking, namely for the God's Eye faction, with Syuri facing a very, very sizable loss, and Ami Sourei expecting to be triumphant, now facing a fairly sizable loss. So here is our true or false for you all. True or false? A God's Eye member will reach the finals of this year's 5-star GP. Whether that be Syuri, the leader of the faction, whether that be Ami Sourei herself, whether that be someone acting as a dark horse, perhaps Tomoka Inaba, with the many skills that she possesses, and what I believe is some announcement that she is making in the month of July, which may pertain to a full-time contractual arrangement with Stardom that could somehow be leveraged into a 5-star run. Okay, we've got a strongly worded true, but we have a lot of dissension here. Couple of falses. We've got a maybe, a rare appearance of a maybe in the true or false. Yeah, this is one to really think about because we have some unknowns. We don't know what Sapporo Rendezvous is looking like yet. There are a couple of Korakuen Hall shows that are taking place in July. July is really, really flooded, and the 5-star starts in July. So I'm expecting a lot of announcements, a lot of angles to be ignited over the course of July, and that will get us a clearer picture of what they want to do with the resolution of the 5-star. So I appreciate everyone throwing out their current opinions. But now we can get to my most anticipated part of the discussion for the conversion. We talked about the downfall of God's Eye, but there was one member of God's Eye who managed to stay at the top of the heap of the future of Stardom. Of course, Hina defending her Future of Stardom title for the third time against the Rattlesnake, Stone Cold Rian. And this match was so freaking good. This was amazing. It blew me away. I don't know why, but Stone Cold Rian seemed a little nervous at first entering the ring, but she decided to bust open that can of whoop ass right off the gate. She stormed the gates, immediate attacks against Hina. And Meerkat, I don't know if you saw this match, but there was not one, there was not two, not three, not four, but 5 chants for Rian from this electric crowd throughout the match. The first chant happened within like the first 2 minutes of the match. She was so over, rightfully so, but also surprisingly so. This was the best defense of Hina's reign by a landslide. There were small moments that Hina contributed as the champion, as the superior, more experienced combatant that really added a lot. These really nonchalant gestures of just shoving Rian down a little bit further to make sure her shoulders were down for the pin attempts. But Rian brought so much to this. Even certain visuals of Rian fisherman suplexing Hina, who's notably bigger, between the two of them and bridging that into a pin. Those things look impressive and they're getting pops from the crowd. And I actually think that I'm trying to think back to the various Future of Stardom title matches we've seen. I definitely think this is the best of Hina's reign so far, but we might even be able to rank it a little bit higher. So I need to review and survey some of the other battles. But to me, really, the only misstep that we could even say, if we want to nitpick on behalf of Rian, is that I felt she was shockingly brief on the microphone afterwards. She is a rattlesnake of few words, and no stunner tonight, which is probably actually the reason that she lost this match. But she landed multiple cutters. She had this sort of like second rope avalanche cutter that got a big pop. I mean, the crowd was really, really into this. And these two had great chemistry. Hina's offense was really well executed. Her offense right now as the champion looks really impactful. And she has this slightly dismissive attitude at the beginning of the match, this slightly dismissive physicality. All of that works really, really well for her as a character. But it collapsed because Rian forced the champion to respect the power. And she forced the champion to literally battle against the ropes. And I got such a kick out of this. I thought this was awesome. How pleased are you to hear that Stone Cold Rian is on the path to fulfilling her true destiny?
Yeah, this is the one. I didn't get a chance to actually watch this one. And so I need to go. I do need to go watch it because I want to see it. There's a lot of actually a lot of Rian that Rian haven't been able to see, and seeing a future title match. The future title matches are really fun because it's like a chance for these rookies to like act like they're main eventing something, and, and it's really cool because they just go all out and try to give as much as they can with their current power level. So I'll be excited to see it. I'm glad to hear that the crowd's really enjoying Rian's work, and yeah. So I want to be able to watch it, and I want to be able to like figure something out. I wish I can do the voice right now and be like, my God, and it's Rian. Yeah, I can't do it right now though because I can't hear myself that well. So, yeah, I'm excited to see it. You know, I'm excited to see it. You say it's like Hina's best match, and people in chat saying it's Rian's best match too. So yeah, I'll go back and watch it. It's just there's some spots in the pay-per-view that I didn't get to watch, and that's one of them.
Fair enough. Well, that Stone Cold segment that you recorded was cracking me up time and time again. So I look forward to the follow up. But let's go ahead and talk. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm just saying it's just so hard to get into that mode to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the real thing is like once you get hyped up for Stone Cold Rian, the danger is that you can't come back. Like you can't pull back from it. So I totally understand. And I fear that sometimes too. It's just when you got to believe in the rattlesnake, you can drink the Kool-Aid a little too strongly. So I'm trying to be tempered and measured here. But with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get our next true or false. This actually ties into this debate about, this being Hina's best defense, this possibly being Rian's best match. Let's look at the future division as it has evolved in 2025. And let's go ahead and throw this out here. So true or false, Hina versus Stone Cold Rian is the Future of Stardom title match from 2025 to watch. We, of course, had the Future of Stardom winning effort from Hina against Miyu Amasaki. We've had defenses against Tabata, against Rana Yagami, and against the Rattlesnake herself. We may have also had a Miyu Amasaki defense thrown in there that was probably against Hanako, if that happened earlier this year. But what do you all think? What did you make of this match? What was your reaction, everyone? All right, we've got a true in the comments here. Also got to mention that this match is free on YouTube. This was one that they bundled in to their preview that was streamed live. So you can see the carnage for yourselves. We've got multiple confirmations that this is the one to watch. If you watch one Future of Stardom title match from the year so far, this is it. So get yourselves over to the Stardom official YouTube. Of course, after this stream is over. And do yourself a favor, people. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for chiming into that true or false. We are going to open things up a little bit. Was there anything else that you wanted to bring up regarding the show, regarding the people involved in the show? Was there a detail of a match that maybe you forgot to mention that you wanted to bring to our attention, or any other thing? We'll just open it up completely for you, Meerkat. If there's something you want to talk about here.
Sure. Shout out to the wrist clutch that, whenever you need to finish somebody off and your finisher's not working, just put on the wrist clutch for some odd reason. Guaranteed to work every time.
It's one strange trick that they don't want you to know. You know.
Very secret technique, just the wrist clutch. Mm-hmm.
And this is actually crucial here. This handshake, this was when Sareee was actually sussing out the viability. She was testing the grip strength of Syuri. And this was actually Shuri's downfall right here. She just didn't know it yet, unfortunately for her. Okay, well, that's why we get this expert analysis here on this stream.
Oh, yeah.
We're now
expert analysis, yeah.
And speaking of that, we're going to get into our live stream Q&A, question and answer, and we'll start to see what you all are wondering about, and maybe we can chime in and expand on the discussion of where Stardom's going and what they have just pulled off. Why have they done this? Starting to talk about the timing, the characters involved, and so forth. We do have some pre-existing aforementioned. Is it aforementioned? We have some pre-existing questions to get to first. So let's look at those. Most of them are coming from Bronson Taylor 4203, someone who is always contributing to the Stardom discussion in fun ways. So here's the first of it. Be it loss or addition of members or even disbanding, what sort of unit storytelling would you like to see occur after the conversion? And what I would like to see personally is what happens with the Neo Genesis faction. One thing that actually is kind of intriguing about their status is that they're pretty down in the dumps. They got absolutely wiped out, but they are also a faction that has a ton of belts around their waists. So they're in this position of being almost underdogs or downtrodden, but they're also going to still be pursued by people who want to take the belts from them. This is not the case where H.A.T.E is antagonizing everyone in Stardom and they're also hoarding the belts for themselves and people are going to try and get back at them. No, Neo Genesis is getting just absolutely slapped around and they still have targets on their back. So I want to see how they navigate that and what unfolds in the second half of the year as they try to hold their station and hold their spot as the various champions of many different divisions here. So what do you think about this question, and what kind of unit storytelling are you hoping will happen, Meerkat?
Well, I'm just curious what's going to happen with Stars. I really want to just like to know what's going to go, what Hanan's going to do with that, because it's just Ring Gori and poor Momo over there. So like, I'm really curious to see if they add it, if they merge, if they just disband it. I don't know. I'm curious. That's the one I'm a little interested in, because it's a legacy unit. It's like the big legacy unit. So we'll see.
It's an excellent choice. There's the potential for really, really great storytelling with Stars. So I hope that they can capitalize on some of that, because there's a lot of room for growth. And I don't necessarily mean them adding people to the faction, but growth for Hanan, for Momo Kogo, for Iida, for them to take these next steps forward, even though it's a very difficult time for them. So also from Bronson Taylor, 4203, what moment brought you the most joy? What moment upset you the most? And what was your favorite match? I'll try and go through this pretty quickly. I can't pinpoint one that brought me the most joy. I definitely was pleasantly surprised to see 5 chants, 5 Rian chants in a single match. That might be a record of some kind. I'm sure we can find
five times.
So that brought me some joy. I wouldn't say anything necessarily upset me, but one thing that did perplex me and maybe sort of, what is the word? I just felt it was a bit harsh, was the treatment of Hazuki in the match with FWC and BMI 2000. First of all, you have a little bit of sympathy for Hazuki anytime they show the number of welts on her back, where she's been receiving this sort of cupping therapy for what seems like a pretty serious ailment that she might be dealing with. And then she had to go through just the ringer in this match. I almost felt like Natsuko and Ruaka were being a little bit stiffer than they normally are against them. And then just the spots, like Hazuki had to miss a suicide dive, and then later, but not much later in the match, she had to do it all over again. And there were just these repetitive things that kept happening after she was already seemingly a little bit beat up. So that I thought, I just remember watching it and not understanding exactly why the match was happening like that. And then favorite match, when you say favorite match or best match, there is a little bit of gray area there. The one that I just thought was utterly the most impressive had to have been the main event, for reasons that we talked about earlier. The multifold a word? The multi-level delivery of the performances, technique wise, timing wise, intensity, physicality wise, coordination wise, the surprises that were baked into the match, the emotions that were baked into the match, the strong sense of character and self that both of these people bring. That they're both in for the fight of their lives, but that has to come through in the performance as well. And they absolutely were able to do that. So those are my responses. What do you have to say? Was there anything that upset you? Anything that brought you joy? Anything that stands out as a favorite match of yours from this card?
Well, yeah, but first off, can you put that FWC photo back up there? Because
sure. Let me track that down.
Oh my god, this is like an indie pop record album cover, basically, like Let's Eat Grandma or something like that. And it's like a duo, like one's the vocalist, the other's the drummer, and then they handle all the instruments. That's what it feels like. Oh my god, that's a great photo. Oh my god. Sorry, I got captured by that.
That's okay. It's understandable.
I don't know about upset me, but brought me the most joy and favorite match in general, which is the main for obvious reasons. And Syuri versus Sareee was just like one of the matches of the year. It's just like really fantastic. It was one of their best performances from both of them, and it's just like, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I'm sure he's such a beast from the moment the match started, and you see her face just lock in and just have these like psycho killer faces. Go fantastic. And then Saori is always so stoic, and then later on in the match, she ends up having so much emotion because she gets caught into it and has no choice but to fight. It's amazing.
Very well said. Okay, we do have, I believe, one additional pre-written question. This one pertains to Neo Genesis. Stay Alpha 127 asks, Neo Genesis will need backup. And I'm curious as to who you two think it would be. I'm thinking Lena Cross is possible. And that's a really good choice. She's got such a presence. She can be very intimidating. She's got a little bit of wit and humor. And she's obviously got the physical stature and power to contend with the newly arriving Bozilla. I don't know if this wrestler is still around, but recently, and forgive me if I'm getting her name wrong, but I believe her name is Debbie Keitel or Debbie Cattell, made an appearance at New Blood. She's got a good sense of humor. She's got a lot of energy because apparently she's a caffeine addict. She's a big coffee drinker. So I could see her teaming up with Neo Genesis for a short time and matching their level of energy and speed and just having fun with it. The main person that I see as a long-term addition to Neo Genesis, and I don't think I have an image of her, is Emma Maishima, one of the newer rookies who debuted against Azumi and seems to have some interest in competing in the high-speed division, seems to have some interest in high-flying, death-defying, high-risk maneuvering. So I could see her trying to help this faction out at some point, maybe not in the super near future, but before the year is up, I would say. Anybody come to mind for you, Meerkat?
I don't know if anyone comes to mind. I mean, I think Neo Genesis should just fusion Ha together, and then they'll have
Okay.
they'll have enough power. No, I don't know. Actually don't know.
But which combinations though? You can't get that wrong because there could be a disaster.
Oh, that could be a major disaster. Yeah. I actually don't know. I don't have anyone who pops in my head in regards to like Gaishins who can appear in the company and help them out. So yeah, your guess is as good as mine.
All right. And I mentioned that there was a question early on that I wanted to get to. So let's definitely get to that. I think it is this one.
Yes.
From Blood Money 47, String and Meerkat. Why is there no angle between Saya Kamitani and Momo Watanabe? I'm picturing the person screaming because there's a voice in my head that is also screaming when this question comes up. Are they holding it off before Sapporo Rendezvous? At this stage, I would say don't completely hold out, don't completely give up hope on it. But I'm really starting to wonder about this, and not in a good way. What do you think about this, Meerkat? We're in a post Tam Nakano Stardom from what I can tell. And if we take out the storytelling that involved Tam, so Tam and Natsuko Tora last year, infamously at the end of the 5-star, and Tam and Saya Kamitani, also infamously the tail end of last year on through April. I'm starting to wonder if H.A.T.E has any storytelling going on at all, or is it just a lot of shock value and it's a lot of antics and ways to get a rise out of the crowd and kind of come out of the blue with various cheating that sometimes works really well, sometimes works horribly and goes horribly wrong. I got my doubts at this stage that there really is any long-term story in mind for this faction. Now that could completely be disproven at Sapporo Rendezvous or at the 5-star, but as we get closer and closer and closer, I'm starting to get a sinking feeling. How about for yourself?
Oh yeah, it feels like we're in the filler season of the anime. Basically, we have our champion, and she's very popular, Sareee Kamitani, and she can just like kind of just like ride that wave a little bit. Is what it seems like. I kind of agree. I don't know what the long term plan would be. Momo's been vibing forever now, and it seems like she's okay with vibing, which is a little disappointing, of course, as a Momo fan. But I mean, that's just what the direction seems to be with H.A.T E. It's just these little evil minion gremlins. I call them gargoyles. These little gargoyles just go around and cause chaos everywhere, and that just seems to be what they do. And just buying time into the 5 stars seems like where the next major angle can take place. It seems like maybe, but I don't know. Because Stardom likes to like shock me lately, so who knows?
Yeah, there's a couple of things I want to follow up with. Firstly, this match of the conversion we just saw, which was God's Eye, Ami Sorei's first match back in a very long time against H.A.T E. And watching that match, like all 4 of those people in H.A.T E had so much charisma and they had crowd support, even though they're positioned as the villains of that story. They were sort of out rizzing the face team in that match. So there's that can kind of be an issue sometimes, depending on the specifics of the story that Stardom might want to tell. But with all that being said, everything we just laid out, there still is a window here. There still is some time if they want to pull the trigger on this Momo Watanabe thing to do it leading into the 5-star. I'm just, as I said, starting to have more and more doubts creeping in. And if it ends up just being a complete nothing burger involving Momo Watanabe at this stage, I'm not going to be all that shocked, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a little unfortunate, but it does seem like that they have Momo there to be just a boss to somebody to lose to, which is it's really unfortunate.
All right. And how are you doing for time? Do you want to take a look at maybe a couple other
Yeah, sure.
questions if we can track some down? All right. Let me do a little bit of looking here.
Let's go perusing.
See if there's anything here. Interesting. There's a lot of conversation, so I definitely appreciate this. Okay, I'm seeing a lot of discussion more so than questions. Oh, here's a good one. You're on a roll, Mr. 47. Should Suzu Suzuki win the belt from Starlight Kid? And this kind of gets in maybe a little bit to philosophical discussions about the Wonder of Stardom title. I honestly think that Starlight Kid is on a hell of a run as the white belt champion.
Mm-hmm.
Not just the visual gimmick that she's bringing to it, the white roses, the added dramatic, theatrical, emotional components that she's bringing to these matches. But she's really, if you think about it, she's pretty much elevated every opponent that she's faced so far. So this is a winning strategy for her and for anybody who steps in front of her. She's been taking on first-time challengers time and time and time again, from Hanako to Rina to Azumi. And that's helping to build them up as well. It's showing that they belong in this division. So I think Starlight Kid is absolutely knocking this out of the park right now. I don't see a reason to immediately take the belt off of her. It's not immediate, obviously. She's had something like 4 defenses, but I don't see a reason to pull the trigger on that unless they can convert that into some dynamic and interesting follow-up story. So I'm going to say no. I think Suzu Suzuki right now is doing just fine, getting this new faction, all of this buzz, all of these new members, winning all of these no DQ matches. Now she's got Bozilla on her side. Imagine how intensely terrifying she could be in the Goddess of Stardom Tag League alongside a couple of the people from her faction. So I'm going to weigh in on the side of no. But what is your take on this, my friend?
Yeah, I'm going to say no as well. I don't think it's going to happen. I don't know who will, though, for Starlight Kid. I'm trying to think how long she can possibly last. I don't know if she will have an incredibly long reign, but maybe she will. It's a little unpredictable, but I do agree with you that Starlight Kid is absolutely killing it. All year long, she's been killing it. She's just absolutely taking the most out of this opportunity to be the Wonder of Stardom champion and just really putting on some exciting, really highly emotional matches, especially under the mask. She does so well of emoting and showing emotion. So yeah, I agree with you.
All right, let's pull out. No worries, not a problem. Let's see if we can pull one or two more here. Okay, this is a tough one. I don't know if I'm going to have a good answer for this, but we have Blitzball Champ in the chat. Thank you very much for tuning into this, my friend. And tune in to Blitzball Champ. I believe he was doing a live reaction to the conversion, watching it in real time. And I'm sure there are probably a lot of shocked and surprised reactions that happened. But the question is, Syuri versus Sareee. The series is currently tied. Where would you host the tiebreaker and who wins it? And I'm going to do the most cowardly thing ever. And I'm going to hand this off to you, Meerkat, to give your answer first. Because this is so tough. I mean, this is so tough. So let's talk about it. If this is going to happen, if this is going to be a Stardom hosted match, there are only a couple of biggest Stardom shows available. There's Dream Queendom, there's All-Star Grand Queendom, and usually each year the 5-star finals is a really, really big show as well. So it's going to have to be one of those. And it depends on how long you want to tease this out. I think if we're giving Saori the belt as they have, she deserves a title reign that has some scalps and some notches on that belt, has some strong defenses. So this is something we could play out all through this year, maybe to next year's All-Star Grand Queendom, maybe even further. Maybe Sareee starts knocking on the door of Mayu Iwatani's title reign.
Yeah.
And she gets through just about everyone. And the only person who stands in her way, as is the person that stood in Mayu's way, is Syuri. So that, if we're going that route, that's going to take us probably to the 5-star finals of next year or Stardom Dream Queendom of next year. And who wins it? I don't know if I can answer that.
Yeah,
it all depends on what's the best story, what's the best emotional beat to hit, where the crowds are resonating. It depends on so much. It depends on what else is going on with the rest of the roster. So it's really a toss-up.
I agree. As long as it's not Wrestle Kingdom, because they'll just get like 10 minutes and it'll be pointless. So I would like to see it be like, it's just absolutely true. It's not even like, that's just statistically true. So, I mean, unless they do the day after, then they can get a good, nice little 20-minute match, But I still would rather see it done on a Stardom pay-per-view, or maybe even like a Sareeism, why not? That'd be great. But I think I agree with you. I think Syuri, it would be really exciting if she did knock on Mayu's door and they held this off for a long period of time. This particular title in itself doesn't ever seem like a title that they defend often, or if they do, it's like on big events, like I said. So like, it would have to be a big event. So yeah, you probably like a Queendom or something like that. But I do see Syuri eventually getting this win back. I kind of do see that happening.
Yeah, that's one of the things that really has me scratching my head to some degree, is how much further involvement in Stardom will Sareee be taking part in? Will the IWGP Championship be taking part in? Because Mayu really put her stamp on this belt when she was holding it. And there was a little bit of a sense that maybe Syuri could carve out her own identity and legacy. But we've taken that left turn. We've taken that sharp left turn. And now a lot of the bets are off. And it could go a number of ways. And I'm not really getting a strong sense. Like the radar sense is not really catching what they're going to do with this. But it is something to keep your eye on. And if the match quality is any indication, the sky's the limit for like how incredible the story of this belt can continue to be. We've been at this for about an hour and 25 minutes. So I think this is a good opportunity for us to promote anything that we might want to promote. I'm going to allow you to go ahead and do so first, my friend. Please let people know. And by the way, I really appreciate you talking to me about this. This has been really fun. And it's really just added to my level of sort of just my general curiosity and getting me thinking about all kinds of possibilities as we move closer to the 5-star as well. But please let people know who you are, what you're up to, and where they can find you.
Yeah, Meerkat Ultra. Find me on YouTube, YouTube channel, basically. Yeah, right there. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Blue Sky as well, Meerkat Ultra. I'm trying to. I'm next video is going to be about Mei versus Mei, Mei Seira versus Mei Suruga. If you haven't seen that, that was done on Mei Suruga's 7th anniversary Choco Pro show. It's a really good match. Really nice to see Mei Seira in that match. It'd be even good to see maybe Mei Suruga appear in Stardom one day to do some to have that fun match again. But I'm doing a video on that, and then you also get some more Mayu, Watanabe, and etc. You know, I do stuff. I make a lot of stuff. So yeah. Other than that, thank you for inviting me. I think that it's a lot of fun doing stuff like this, and yeah, thank you.
Yeah, no worries. There's definitely a lot more to discuss as Stardom begins to ramp things up further to the 5-star. You are here at the String Six Splash YouTube channel, everyone. You can check out the series Red Belt Radio and a number of other things, including hot takes and unpopular opinions on Stardom and a number of different faction guides, quick guides, and just a lot of discussion and conjecture about Stardom, previews, reviews. Sky's the limit. So please check me out here on YouTube. You can send me an email, check me out on social media, Twitter, and Blue Sky. With that all out of the way, thank you, Meerkat. This has been really interesting talking about the conversions that Stardom has taken and what awaits. And thank you, everyone, for watching.
Thank you.